Hi, I'm Ryan Smith, owner of BNR Motorsports, and I'm up next on Quad Radio.
So I'm here with our sponsored rider, Walker Fowler, championship again. Just tell me a little about our relationship that you have with DP.
My relationship with DP Brakes, man, goes back from literally, I believe 2002 or 2003 when I started running national stuff. Owner Larry Mills, we kind of were in contact with him even before that. So, all our youth dirt bikes at the time, KTM 65s, the Cobras back in the day, 300EXs, Raptor 250s, YFZ 450s, and now in a YFZ 1000R. He's always had us covered, and it's just been, stopping has never been an issue in my world.
Hello and welcome to the voice of the ATV Racing Nation, quadradio.net. I'm Rodney Tomlin, and today our guest is Ryan Smith from BNR Motorsports here on Quad Radio Prodigies, presented to you by our good friends at DP Brakes. The first, the best, the leader in centered braking technology. And of course, as we always like to say, what's stopping you? Literally. Also, I want to take this opportunity to say a special thanks to our good friends at 88 Live to Ride, racing toward rider safety. And also a special shout out to our good friends at Impact Solutions over in Little Hocking, Ohio, of course, doing all of your ELCA suspension needs here on the East Coast. They are your East Coast ELCA suspension headquarters. Casey Greek and all the boys ready to take care of you down there. Also want to send a shout out to our good friends at Dalton Turpin Racing, as well as our good friends at Rockford Fosgate Ty Lube Honda, who are going to be a part of the 2019 GNCC series. As well, we also want to take this opportunity to salute Walker Fowler Racing, and now four-time GNCC champion and soon-to-be bike prep and builder. And, of course, we also salute All Task Construction out of Pennsylvania. And we say hello and welcome to this gentleman right here, Ryan Smith from BNR Motorsports. And, Ryan, welcome to Quad Radio, my friend.
Thanks, Rodney. It's good to be here.
Well, it's great to have you on. I know, as always, there always seems to be some little technical glitch or difficulty. I got my new satellite internet at home, and the rain set in, and my speed slowed way down. So I've got a makeshift studio at my neighbor's down the road here today. But nonetheless, we are here, and we are ready to talk to, Ryan Smith from BNR Motorsports. And I say it like that because BNR Motorsports has been such a big part of GNCC for many years. And I got to be honest, I'm not going to lie to you, Ryan, never knew the depth of what BNR Motorsports was, but I did know and realize that they are a huge supporter of a lot of different riders there in GNCC. And I also noticed on your Facebook page that you've got Johnny Gallagher on the center of the podium from the X Factor and his one and only win. And I thought that was cool, man. So, you guys are certainly tied to the roots of, I think, off-road racing.
Yeah. Just to give you a little bit of background, I guess, on us, some people that might not know, I did my first GNCC in 2004 at Powerline Park. So 14 years ago. I followed the series pretty heavily, starting 05, 06, did a few. 2007 through 2010, I pretty much raced full time. My brother still to this day races full time in the 4x4 Pro class. He's also a co-owner here at BNR Motorsports. He's been racing for Factory Can-Am for a long time. Once I got into the wrenching end of things, kind of took over my time, and I only get to race a few GNCCs here and there. I actually won a 4x4 championship in 2011, I believe it was. So, just don't get to race nationals as much as I like to. Do race some locals here and there, but I really started as a pro wrench for Kevin Yoho, was how I kind of started into it. So we've been involved with GNCC since, like I said, since 2004. And since 2007, I've only missed one GNCC, which was last year when they rescheduled the Penton on my brother's birthday. So that was the only GNCC I've missed in 11 years. So I would say we're pretty ingrained in GNCC racing for sure.
I would have to think so. That banner, that picture you see back there behind you, that's your brother Robert, right?
Yeah, that is the 2013 4x4 overall champion banner that he proudly hangs by his desk that I have to stare at every day. So, you know, he,
So
yeah, he was the 4x4 overall champion in 2013. Would have been before they actually had the 4x4 pro class. You know, they had an overall champion from all the classes combined, and he was able to take that home in 13. So that banner has been hanging back there.
yeah, that's something to be proud of, man, for sure. And it looks like you guys obviously share an office there at BNR Motorsports. So, like you said, you don't race so much anymore. So what do you do? I mean, you're there all the time. What is your main function at a GNCC or an off-road event?
So, yeah, I mean, my brother, and like I said, he's co-owner here, but he has a full-time job. He's actually a high school teacher. So he's here in the summers, and he does a lot of work. You know, people that know us, I mean, he's really good with, you know, drawing and engineering and stuff. Has an amazing mind. People that'll tell you know that, you know, he's really, really good at that kind of stuff, design aspects and things. You know, my everyday function at the GNCCs is really to be there, support my customers. I mean, we're a performance shop, you know, so racing engines and suspension, you know, it's us and, you know, DeRisi Racing. I mean, you go to GNCCs and those are the two names that you hear. So I'm there supporting customers. I have customers that, you know, I build their bikes, I prep their bikes, I bring them to GNCC. You know, so I do that as well. I was a pro wrench for years with Kevin Yoho. I'm still have some pro guys, Josh Mayer, Johnny Gallagher, some of those guys, you know, but I don't do as much full-time pro wrenching as I once did. But I do, you know, Matthew Blankenship, College A rider. You know, I bring his bikes to all the races. And then Michael Relier, he is from Florida, rides the super senior class. I do his bikes as well. So I'm there doing a little bit of everything, really, you know, helping customers with questions and setup, from suspension to engine work, you know, from youth riders to UTV riders, you know, to pros. We pretty much have it, you know, a good range of what we do and what we work with.
Awesome. So what actually got you into that end of it? I mean, is it mechanical work a passion of yours that you've had all your life and you just was able to turn that into what it is?
Well, you know, it's kind of a funny story, I guess. You know, I started racing, like I said, 2003 locally. 2004, I did my first national. Would have been the year I graduated college, was 2004. I went to college. I graduated high school in 2004. Went to college there afterwards. I actually have a business management degree and international economics degree. Did some logistics work and stuff for a while and just wasn't what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be working in an office all the time. I was really into racing. At that point, I was wrenching for Kevin Yoho in the Pro-Am class, and always worked on my bikes. My brother was always kind of into it. So we said, you know what, let's take a run at this and see what happens. You know, I wouldn't be where I am today without, you know, Lazarus Summers, who was, you know, a mentor of mine, and his son, Brandon, who, you know, many people forget now as the years pass, was a phenomenal pro rider in his own right, who was one of my best friends, you know, growing up racing locals and stuff. You know, Lazarus taught me a lot. You know, he's the first person to teach me how to rebuild a shock, things like that. So, you know, that was kind of where the background was, and then I kind of ran with it. And then, you know, I was actually on the Point de Vaux team in 2009 with Bill Balance and Taylor Kaiser and Brandon Summers. I was honored to be asked by Brandon to go over as one of the mechanics and one of the pit crew members, you know, and that was the year I opened my shop, actually, was that year. So I kind of did that. And then, you know, unfortunately, you know, tragedy kind of struck in 2014 when Lazarus, you know, passed away at Marianne. You know, it was real hard on me, you know, really, with what happened and everything. And then, you know, Brandon was running the shop, and, you know, like I told Brandon, I'm there if you need anything. And when everything kind of went down, you know, he kind of came to me and, you know, was talking about selling some of the parts of the business off. And, you know, I had mixed emotions about it, you know, because that's, you know, I didn't want to just buy it, but, you know, like Brandon said, my dad would be honored for you to be the one to carry this on. And I'm just not going to do this anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. So, in 2014, we went ahead and purchased the GT Thunder suspension department, and then a lot of their engine stuff. So kind of, we're not far from where GT Thunder was. So we kind of just took over for the area that we're in Ohio, and kind of been running with it ever since, and growing and adapting ever since, really. So I still race locally. I still own several Yamaha 450s, and Can-Am Maverick UTV. I don't get to race as much as I like to. Nationals, I'm too busy, but, I still enjoy it, immensely. So.
Well, that's a great story, Ryan. It really is, man. I mean, and you're right. You are deep seated into the GNCC community, and it's amazing how it bites you like it does. It's amazing how it latches onto you, and it can draw you in. But what you were able to do with it, man. I mean, you got absorbed into it, and you were able to make something out of it. And I think it's great that you're carrying on the legacy of GT Thunder. I know that you're right. I believe that Laz would be pretty proud of what you got going on there, and especially from what I've been able to see, the support that you've given around the racetrack to the riders and things. And I think that's great. So congratulations on that. And I'm happy to know the story now, man. I mean, it kind of, it puts me on a little more personal level with you. And I think it will a lot more other people out there as well, because there were a lot of people that had a lot of respect for Lazarus and what he had going on there. And to see you to continue that, kudos to you, my friend.
Yeah.
Now let's talk a little bit about BNR.
I mean,
or go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, as the years go by and, people kind of come and go in the sport, sometimes they don't know everything. People will say, oh, how long have you been around, or you've been doing this, so like I said, I wouldn't be where I am without, Lazarus and, what he meant to me, and what he meant to so many people, so.
Right. I agree. And, it seems like it's so fresh. It's unbelievable how fresh it really is to this day. And I mean, it's been 4 years now since it happened. So, yeah, it's tough. That's for sure. So Robert goes by Bob, obviously. I know I call him Robert a lot, but it's Bob. That's the BNR in BNR Motorsports, I'm assuming, correct?
No, actually, most people call my brother Bert.
Bert?
Yeah, that's whatever all his friends and stuff know him from is Bert. So, Bert and Ryan, so it's kind of where it is. But yeah, that most people do call him Bert, actually. So
as in that, hey, that makes sense, Robert. Yeah, Bert. So
yeah.
I'm gonna have to lean on that, man, because now I feel a little more emotionally attached to you guys. So I'll be able to do that.
There you go.
But so what's the plans for the future for you, for Bert, and for yourself, and then for the shop, I guess?
Well, I mean, we're obviously heavy involved in ATVs. We're branching out, doing quite a few UTV stuff. Walker Fowler lives down the street. He's a good friend of mine from, so those guys, like, we're pretty ingrained in racing here. Johnny Gallagher doesn't live far away. Kenny Schick, Pro-Am guy, Cole Richardson. So we're in a real good area. We got a lot of local people racing, as well as our national customers. We actually do quite a bit. We're getting into ATV motocross a little bit more. I'm building some custom shocks at the motocross scene that got some Pro-Am guys doing some testing on them right now. Don't want to give the names away until we finalize everything, but I think they're going to definitely turn some heads next year at ATV motocross. The Honda, nothing new has come out for the Honda forever, so I'm kind of proud of this project with the Honda. Doing some of that because we're really known as a Yamaha and Can-Am shop, but we do a lot of Hondas. I mean, we do motor work for Matt Lindell, who's one of the Pro-Am guys, also Iowa champion. We're just basically keep growing, supporting racing, any way we can with ATVs and UTVs, obviously. We have a great sponsorship program that's open still to the end of the year. We have I think we have 500 riders this year that we supported in some capacity. We were able to walk away with 11 championships at GNCC, 40 top fives. So something, I'm extremely proud of as far as that's concerned. So, just keep pushing and trying to constantly move forward. I mean, we don't sit on our hands. I mean, we keep pushing. I want our customers and stuff to see us at the races and realize how involved we are. That, I'm obviously, this is how I make my living. I'm here to make money. I'm not going to lie about that. But at the same time, I love this sport. So me pouring money back into it and supporting it, we're in negotiations to be sponsors for a couple new series and stuff next year. Try to give back as much as we can possibly afford. And I hope that's something that people don't lose sight of out there in the world. These big companies anymore with Amazon and everything else. And, you don't get that personal connection with somebody or somebody that supports you. They look at you as dollars, where I look at you as, a person and a customer and a fellow racer who, has been racing. Like I said, I've been racing for, going on 16 years now. So I know what everybody goes through. So that's kind of what we're doing, is just keep pushing forward, coming out with new stuff, developing new products. My brother just got done. He was the first guy to ride the 2019 Can-Am for the last 3 GNCCs. He's worked hand in hand with Can-Am for years now. He's a Can-Am factory support rider. There isn't a guy in the 4x4 pro class that can't, thank him at some point for something he's come up with or invented for the Can-Ams. He's on the forefront of that. And like I said, we got a 2019 Can-Am about 3 weeks before the last national started this year, and developed it up. And, Can-Am wanted us to run it, and we ran it for the last 3 races. And, he was able to put in a couple really good rides, top fives. We had one issue there, Mason Dixon, but he was able to go back out, and actually Ironman, his lap time was right there with Landon and Kevin, which, he obviously doesn't train like those guys do. He's not in the shape those guys are. He'll be the first to admit that. However, I think the way we got the bike working, pretty impressive, really. I mean, the lap times he was turning on it. So, like I said, we were developing that. So we're the first ones out with that 2019. It's a whole new platform. So you're going to see, some of the 4x4 pro guys, depending on contracts next year, going to be on those 19s. And, we hope to have a leg up with the work that we've already done with that. So
you mentioned a couple of things, couple of keywords there that's kind of got me wondering. This might come out of left field. You mentioned Iowa. You mentioned new series, and I see that there is a new ATV and UTV national series that is coming out. I don't know that it's AMA sanctioned, but it's going to be claimed as national championship. It comes from the Iowa Hare Scramble folks, I think, the people that do the Heartland Challenge. They've got, I think, 5 races. There are 5 different venues they're looking at for next season. The American Cross Country Series. Do you know anything about that? If you do, are you allowed to elaborate or talk a little bit about that? Because I know with the UTVs being gone from the GNCC, that might be a lot of interest to a lot of folks.
Yeah, I don't know much. I guess I know a little bit. I don't know what kind of the information I got was more secondhand, so I won't, comment too much on it because I don't know exactly. I have contacted them, but I have not really heard much back, so I don't know a whole lot about what's going on. I know there are some people that I've talked to that, that I have some guys that race ATVs that, their dads are racing UTVs. Or their uncles or whatever. So there are some guys that are looking at maybe running that series because, they kind of split travel costs and things like that. So they're going to run that series. So, and like I said, I mean, I'm a GNCC guy, and Carrie Jo, I can, you mentioned my name to her and she's got a slight grin on her face because, we've butted heads over the years, but she knows how much I want to support the series and see the series go. But I don't see, there's a lot of back and forth with this new series. You see this social media stuff, and it's really a shame. Johnny and I, Gallagher and I have talked about, some of the stuff that gets carried away on social media, you know, it's really frustrating because like we know some of the stuff that's actually going on. But I don't see an issue with, you know, I think it's good to have another series, you know.
Yeah, and that's
I
one.
don't see an issue with it.
Yeah, and that's something that, you know, I mean, as long as they're not conflicting dates and something like that, I think that the sponsors would probably be the ones that first up to step up on something like that, because it is a good venue. I mean, I think it's a good idea. I have to say and admit, it's an idea that I didn't necessarily have the resources to perform, and I see that someone else is already carrying out the idea, and I wish them well. The only thing is, you can either go against the grain or you can go with the grain and make it work. I just hope that, you know, it doesn't have to be a competitive thing by no stretch of the imagination. It can be an addition to what we've got as far as ATV racing. The one thing that we've got to remember as a community, and I have to voice as the so-called voice of the ATV racing nation, we got to all work together, man. And if we don't, we're doing nothing but working to our demise. You know, I mean, if everybody works together, there's two things that I preach: grassroots level. We got to keep the grassroots strong, and we got to work together, especially on the national level. Because if series go working against one another, they start splitting the riders, and it does no good for anyone, and it actually does more harm for the sport. And a prime example of that is ATV motocross with the WPSA that came in and nearly destroyed everything. And nothing's been the same since that particular point. There's been a few other issues that came up with, I think that we could say, economy and stuff that didn't bode well with the situation that was at hand. But regardless, I think if we use that as a model, it's not going to be good. And I can tell you right now, anybody that goes against the GNCC, they're going to have their hands full. So I don't think any I hope I'm not overstepping my boundaries there. I am a contract employee. I work for the Coombses. This website is in no way affiliated. Anything that I say or do has nothing to do with those people. You know, they are great people, great folks. I've worked for them for over 20 years. They're like family to me. And I for one, don't want to see anything that's going to come and work against the grain against them. But I think number one for me is against the sport. So I think that we as a racing community, the keyboard warriors, you need to think about this for a moment. Quit comparing apples to oranges. Think about it. This gives us two great opportunities. If you've got the only the availability, the funds to run only one, choose one and run it and support it to the hilt is what I say. If you have the availability to run both and support them both to the hilt. And that's the bottom line. And one's not better than the other. You know, it's just they are what they are. Make them the best that they can be, is my opinion. Because if we keep this squabbling in the ATV community, it is going to do nothing but continue to go down the drain. And you know that as well as I do. You've been around, like you say, since 2004. You've seen the peak of it, and we're working through some rough times right now.
Yeah,
I'm off my soapbox.
No, I mean, you know, I agree with you, and you know, 100%. And you know, I get on the forums. You know, I'm on the Facebook stuff answering questions, and you know, I think a lot of my customers and stuff will tell you, you know, like, doesn't matter who you are. I try to answer questions and help people. But you know, I've had my share of, you know, people giving me slack on social media and stuff. You know, and you only hear bits and pieces of the story. And, you know, a lot of people in this industry, you know, they just stay off there, you know, and it's like, we grew up with Quad Zone. You know, I don't know if you remember that at all, but like, you know, Ken Hill will be able to tell you, you know, all about Quad Zone. He used to post his pictures on there and stuff. And so there's a lot of good information. So like, I try to get on and spread some information that, you know, that I know from doing things over the years. Like, if you don't like my opinion, that's fine, you know, but you see so much of this anymore with when this new series came out, like, oh, everyone's going there, you know, GNCC doesn't care. And, you know, and I read it and I'm just thinking to myself, like, you have no idea, you know, and it's frustrating to see that, because like you said, you know, pick this, if you want to run one series instead of other, that's fine. But this, they're going to be the greatest series ever. Like, and I'll be honest with you, you know, and I think Andy from Iowa is involved with the new series from what I hear. And I'm sure he doesn't want that. You know, I'm sure he doesn't want to be, you know, compared to, our series is going to be better than GNCC or whatever. It's just another venue to give people. You know, and one of the things that loops it back into you saying the grassroots and stuff. And, I don't know if any, what people watch these, if any industry people or whatever, but like, I would love to sit down with the manufacturers and why does no one make a youth four-wheeler? I mean, you're not going to get these. And this is a conversation I've had with, Johnny Gallagher and, Walker Fowler and, everybody really, up and down the sport, that we've had these conversations. And it's like, why doesn't anyone build a youth four-wheeler? Because you go from a youth four-wheeler to a big four-wheeler. And then, when you get older and you got some more money in the bank and your bones aren't feeling it, then you buy side-by-side. Kids aren't going to go from playing video games when they're, 12 years old, 10, 11, 12 years old, to waking up when they're 30 going, man, I'm going to go spend $20,000 on a side-by-side. Go ask the guys that have side-by-sides. You'd be hard-pressed to find anybody that didn't have an ATV or a dirt bike before they bought a side-by-side. And it's like we've lost the focus on that. And that as being in this industry is the most concerning thing to me. Is the fact that we don't have any youth ATVs basically whatsoever other than the DRRs. There's no transition. I mean, Yamaha's not making any youth. And then we have one 450, sport quad. And that's it. That's all we're producing. And, that's concerning to me. I wish the manufacturers would. It's almost one of those things, you have to kind of build your customer base. Like, I mean, I know the money profit-wise isn't there, but you got to get people hooked into off-road, because if you don't, at some point in time, that market may dry up. So,
well, I've talked to a lot of folks. I mean, I don't know what the fate of the sport ATV market is right now. Kudos to Yamaha for sticking with it. Kudos to DRR for sticking with the youth ATV that they're producing. I do know that the UTV is a big focus for a lot of these folks, but at the same time, if I understand that the moto side of things on two-wheel is starting to dwindle a little bit, and we're seeing the numbers pick up on the two-wheel side of things in the off-road world, and the manufacturers are starting to take note of that. You'll see next year in GNCC with one new manufacturer there and one with a stronger presence next year. And I think that, if you look at it in that picture, it almost has to the crowd is there on Saturday. That's when we have our biggest crowds. I think that the manufacturers may start to recognize that. And if they do, maybe they'll start putting those sport ATVs back out there. So at least they can say the Honda's out there, the the Kawasaki or the whatever is, whoever picks up on it and says, hey, wait a minute, we're missing a big boat here, because if nothing else, our name can be mentioned and, it can carry over to the next day, because if somebody likes what they see, maybe they want a Yamaha dirt bike now because they saw how well the Yamaha four-wheeler performed, or, that's what they saw that Yamaha presence there. So whatever the case may be, hopefully that will trickle down. That's a trickle down thing. That's a pipe dream, I guess, if you want to say it. But I mean, it's a hope that we might have with the growing numbers in off-road racing. Any parting shots, Ryan? I'll let you. I know we've been on this for a few minutes. I'll let you make your parting shots. You look like you have one other thing that you want to say, and then we'll let you go.
No, I mean, I appreciate you having me on, and like I said, I'm full bore support ATV and the UTV series. We don't do a whole lot of bikes. I do got to give a shout out to my one bike buddy, is Becca Sheets. Down there at the 6th day. Hopefully she's, going to kick some butt and do well down there. But yeah, I mean, like I said, you see me around the races. I don't ever, sometimes I hear things like, oh, Ryan at BNR, he's only, they're only for the pro guys. And that couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, yeah, the pro guys take a lot of time because they got a lot of bikes. They got a lot of, money riding on things. But, I encourage you, if you see me at the races or my brother at the races, or any of our guys that represent us, look us up, talk to us, meet us, we're here to help. We just want to see the sport continue to go, and hopefully, someone will step up and make another sport quad, and Yamaha will stay on board, and, things will keep rolling. So, I mean, but that's about it. Like I said, we got a great sponsorship program open up till the end of December. Looking at any work to be done, ATV motocross, GNCC, send a resume in. get some work done for you this winter, and try to help you out and achieve your goals next year. So
yeah, they can contact you by going to BNR Motorsports through Facebook, I guess, and they can get any information they need there, I suppose, or BNR website.
Yeah, BNRmotorsports.com, BNR Motorsports on Facebook. All our contact. We had a contact thing on our website. We're constantly working on our website, updating it and stuff. I mean, it's getting better and better all the time, but we are a small business, and it's hard to keep up with the workload and that all at the same time. But we are, those are the best ways to get a hold of us, and keep an eye on that. And, yeah, that's about it.
Well, thank you again, my friend. It's been a pleasure getting to know you better.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you, Rodney.
That's Ryan Smith. I'm Rodney Tomlin, and this is Quad Radio Prodigies.